I became everything they couldn't control, predict, or destroy. The unbreakable mindset. Listen to me closely. You're standing here right now because something inside you refuses to break. You've been bent, twisted, pushed to the edge. Maybe you're there right now, but you haven't shattered. And that terrifies them. That terrifies everyone who tried to put you in a box, everyone who tried to predict your next move, everyone who wrote you off as just another statistic, another failure, another cautionary tale. But here's what they didn't count on. You. Not the version of you they thought they knew. Not the version that played by their rules, that smiled when you were supposed to smile, that stayed quiet when they told you to be silent. No, they didn't count on the version of you that was forged in the darkness in those moments when no one was watching, when you had nothing left but the choice to either lay down and die, or stand up and become something they could never comprehend. That's who you are now. That's who you're becoming. And that's exactly why I'm talking to you like this, direct, raw, unfiltered. Because you don't need someone to hold your hand and tell you it can be okay. You need someone to look you in the eyes and tell you the truth. You are becoming everything they feared you would be. There was a moment. Maybe you remember it clearly, maybe it's buried under layers of pain and confusion. But there was a specific moment when everything changed. It wasn't dramatic. There were no trumpets, no audience. No one standing there to witness it. It was just you alone, staring at yourself in the mirror or sitting in the dark at 3 a.m. And you made a decision. You decided that their script for your life was garbage. You know what I'm talking about. That script they handed you the moment you were born. The one that said you should follow this path, achieve these milestones, become this type of person, fit into this neat little category. The script that told you what success looks like, what happiness should feel like, what you're capable of achieving based on where you came from, who your parents were, what mistakes you made. And for a while you tried to follow it. You really did. You worked the job you were supposed to want. You chased the relationships that made sense on paper. You smiled at the right time, said the right things. Played the game exactly how they taught you. But inside you were dying. Inside there was this voice, quiet at first, barely a whisper, saying, this isn't who I am. This isn't what I'm capable of. And you tried to silence that voice. You tried to drown it out with distractions, with alcohol, with work, with Netflix binges, with anything that would make it shut up for just a few hours. But it didn't work. That voice got louder and louder until one day, it wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a roar. It was a volcanic eruption of truth that you couldn't ignore, couldn't suppress, couldn't pretend didn't exist. And that's when you stopped being predictable. That's when you looked at their script and you set it on fire. Not because you were angry, though you might have been, but because you finally realized something profound. Their script was never written for your potential. It was written for their comfort. Think about that. Every expectation they placed on you, every limitation they tried to impose, every time they told you to be realistic or play it safe, it wasn't for your benefit. It was for theirs. Because people are terrified of the unpredictable. They're terrified of someone who refuses to fit into the neat little boxes they've created to make sense of the world. When you follow the script, you're manageable, you're understandable, you're controllable. They can predict your next move, anticipate your reactions, keep you contained within the boundaries of what's acceptable. But the moment you deviate, the moment you start making decisions based on who you truly are rather than who they need you to be, you become dangerous. Not dangerous in a violent sense. Dangerous in the sense that you represent possibility. You represent the terrifying truth that maybe, just maybe, their rules don't apply. That maybe their limitations are just illusions. That maybe everything they told themselves about what's possible and what's not is complete bullshit. And they can't have that. So they try to pull you back. They call you crazy, reckless, unrealistic, selfish. They tell you you're making a mistake, that you're going to regret this, that you need to think about the consequences. But here's what you know now that you didn't know before. The only consequence you truly fear is becoming someone you don't recognize. The only regret that would actually destroy you is looking back and realizing you lived their life instead of yours. So you stopped being predictable. You started making moves they didn't see coming. You started choosing paths they couldn't understand. You started building a version of yourself that didn't exist in their imagination. And that's when everything changed. Control is an illusion. But it's an illusion most people desperately cling to. They need to feel like They have control over their environment, their circumstances, the people around them. It gives them a sense of security, a sense of order in a chaotic world. And for most of your life, you gave them that control. You let them dictate your emotions when you should be happy, when you should be grateful, when you should feel guilty. You let them dictate your choices, which opportunities to pursue, which risks to avoid, which dreams to abandon. You let them dictate your identity, who you were supposed to be, what you were capable of, what you deserved. But something shifted. Maybe it was gradual, or maybe it happened all at once. But you reached a point where you realized they only have as much control as you give them. Read that again. Write it down. Tattoo it on your soul. They only have as much control as you give them. Your boss doesn't control you. Your fear of not having a paycheck does. Your toxic relationship doesn't control you. Your fear of being alone does. Your past failures don't control you. Your belief that they define your future does. Society doesn't control you. Your need for approval and validation does. When you truly understand this, when you internalize it at a level deeper than intellectual comprehension, you become uncontrollable. Not because you're rebellious for the sake of being rebellious, but because you've reclaimed sovereignty over your own life. Being uncontrollable doesn't mean being chaotic or irresponsible. It means making decisions based on your values, your vision, your truth, regardless of external pressure. It means standing firm in your convictions, even when everyone around you thinks you're insane. It means having the courage to disappoint people who expect you to sacrifice your authenticity for their comfort. I've watched people transform when they embrace this. I've seen individuals who were meek, who apologized for taking up space, who lived in constant fear of judgment. I've seen them become forces of nature, not because they changed who they fundamentally were, but because they stopped letting other people's fears and insecurities dictate their choices. You know what's fascinating? When you become uncontrollable, people's reactions tell you everything you need to know about them. The people who truly love you, who truly want the best for you, they celebrate your autonomy. They might not understand every decision you make. They might worry about you, but they respect your right to chart your own course. But the people who need to control you, they lose their minds. They escalate. They manipulate. They guilt trip. They threaten. They do everything in their power to pull you back into their orbit, because your independence is a direct threat to their sense of control. And here's a hard truth. Sometimes those people are family. Sometimes they're lifelong friends. Sometimes they're romantic partners you thought you'd spend forever with. And letting go of those relationships, or fundamentally restructuring them, is one of the most painful things you'll ever do. But you do it anyway, because you've tasted freedom, and you can never go back. You felt what it's like to make a decision purely because it aligns with who you are, not because it's what someone else wants. You experienced the profound power of looking someone in the eye and saying, I respect your opinion, but this is my life, and this is my choice. You discovered that the worst case scenarios you were terrified of, rejection, abandonment, failure, are actually survivable. More than survivable. They're often the catalysts for your greatest growth. Being uncontrollable is terrifying. It requires you to take full responsibility for your life. You can't blame anyone else when things go wrong. You can't hide behind, I was just doing what I was told, or I didn't have a choice. You had a choice. You always have a choice. And you chose to bet on yourself. That's what separates you from everyone who's still living on autopilot. They're passengers in their own lives, complaining about the destination, but never grabbing the wheel. You took the wheel. You might not know exactly where you're going. You might take wrong turns. You might drive through some seriously rough terrain. But it's your journey, your choices, your life. And no one can take that away from you unless you let them. They tried. Let's be honest, they tried. Maybe not literally, maybe not with malicious intent. But they tried to destroy the version of you that threatened their worldview. They tried to break your spirit, crush your dreams, convince you that you were aiming too high, reaching too far, wanting too much. They told you that you weren't smart enough, talented enough, connected enough, lucky enough. They pointed out every flaw, every mistake, every reason why you would fail. They reminded you of your past, your background, your limitations. They planted seeds of doubt, so deep that you started to believe them. And for a while it worked. For a while you questioned everything. You looked at your dreams, and they seemed absurd. You looked at your goals, and they seemed impossible. You looked at yourself and you saw exactly what they told you to see. Someone who should be grateful for mediocrity, who should accept their place, who should stop wanting more. Some of you experienced this in subtle ways: the passive-aggressive comments, the skeptical looks, the conspicuous silence when you shared your excitement about something. Others experienced it in brutal ways: direct sabotage, cruel mockery, deliberate undermining of your efforts. But here's what they didn't account for. Pain either destroys you or forges you, and you chose to be forged. Every attempt to break you became another layer of armor. Every insult became fuel. Every obstacle became a challenge you were determined to overcome. Every person who counted you out became someone you were determined to prove wrong. Not for them, not for validation, but for yourself. To prove to yourself that you were more than their limited vision of you. There's a concept in metallurgy called work hardening. When metal is repeatedly stressed, bent, hammered, compressed, it doesn't necessarily break. Instead, its internal structure changes. It becomes stronger, more resilient, more difficult to deform. The very process designed to break, it makes it unbreakable. That's what happened to you. You went through the fire, and instead of turning to ash, you became steel. You endured the pressure, and instead of shattering, you became diamond. You faced the storms that sent you away, and instead of drowning, you learned to navigate waters they couldn't even imagine. And there was a moment, there was when they realized it. When they realized that their words no longer wounded you. When they realized that their opinions no longer mattered to you. When they realized that you weren't going to break, weren't going to quit, weren't going to conform. Some of them got angry. Some doubled down on their attacks. But others backed away because they realized something terrifying. You have become immune to their weapons. The criticism that used to paralyze you, it bounces off now. The rejection that used to devastate you, it's just information now. The failure that used to define you, it's just feedback now. You're not indestructible. You still feel pain, still experience disappointment, still face setbacks. But you've developed something far more powerful than invulnerability: resilience. The ability to be knocked down and get back up. The ability to be hurt and keep moving forward. The ability to lose everything and rebuild from scratch. They can't destroy that. They can take your money, your reputation, your relationships, your opportunities, but they can't take your ability to start over. They can't take your determination. They can't take the person you've become through all of this. And that's when you truly become dangerous. Not because you're seeking revenge or trying to prove anything, but because you're operating from a place of profound internal security. You know who you are. You know what you're capable of. You know that you've survived things that would have destroyed the old version of you. Before we continue deeper into this journey, I need you to do something for me, for yourself. If this message is resonating with you, if these words are speaking to something inside you, I want you to hit that like button right now. Not for me, but as a declaration. A declaration that you're done being controlled, predicted, or destroyed. And drop a comment below. Tell me one thing they said you couldn't do that you're going to prove them wrong about. Let's build a community of the unbreakable. And subscribe, because we're just getting started. There's so much more I need to tell you. So much more you need to hear to complete this transformation. Do it now. I'll wait. Let's get something straight. The unbreakable mindset isn't about being tough all the time. It's not about never feeling fear, never experiencing doubt, never wanting to quit. Anyone who tells you that is selling you a fantasy. The unbreakable mindset is about what you do with those feelings. You're going to feel fear. The difference is that you don't let fear make your decisions. You acknowledge it, you examine it, you understand what's trying to protect you from it. And then you decide whether that protection is serving you or limiting you. You're going to experience doubt. The difference is that you don't let doubt become your identity. You question your strategies, your methods, your approaches. But you never question your fundamental worth or your right to pursue what matters to you. You're going to want to quit. The difference is that you distinguish between strategic retreat and surrender. Sometimes quitting something is the smartest move you can make. Quitting a toxic job, quitting a destructive relationship, quitting a path that's no longer aligned with who you're becoming. But you never quit on yourself. You never quit on your potential. You never quit on the promise you made to become everything you're capable of being. The unbreakable mindset is built on several core principles. I'm going to share them with you, but understand this. Knowing these principles intellectually is worthless. You have to live them. You have to practice them daily until they become as natural as breathing. Extreme ownership. This is the hardest one. So we start here. Extreme ownership means taking complete responsibility for your life. No exceptions, no excuses, no external blame. It means acknowledging that while you can't control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Bad childhood? That's terrible, and you deserve better. But it's your responsibility to heal, to break the cycle, to not let your past dictate your future. Unfair circumstances? Absolutely. Life isn't fair, but it's your responsibility to play the hand you were dealt as well as possible. People let you down? That hurts deeply, but it's your responsibility to set boundaries, choose better, and rebuild trust cautiously. This isn't about letting others off the hook. This is about refusing to give them power over your future. When you blame external circumstances for where you are, you're simultaneously saying that external circumstances have to change for you to move forward. That's powerlessness. When you take extreme ownership, you say, given where I am right now, what's the next best move I can make? You're always looking for the action you can take, the decision you can make, the small step you can execute, detachment from outcome. This sounds contradictory. You're supposed to have goals, right? You're supposed to want things to work towards specific outcomes. Yes, but you can't be emotionally destroyed every time things don't work out exactly as planned. The unbreakable mindset requires you to be deeply committed to your actions while being detached from specific outcomes. You control your effort, your attitude, your preparation, your persistence. You don't control the market, the economy, other people's decisions, timing, or luck. Do everything in your power to achieve what you want. Plan meticulously. Work relentlessly. Optimize constantly. But hold your specific outcomes loosely. Be flexible. Be willing to pivot. Be open to possibilities you haven't imagined. Some of your greatest successes will come from plans that failed. Some of your most important relationships will come from rejections that redirected you. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come from doors that slammed in your face, forcing you to find a different entrance. The long game. We live in a world of instant gratification, quick fixes, overnight success stories. That's not reality. That's marketing. Reality is that meaningful transformation takes time. Building something significant takes time. Becoming someone worth becoming takes time. The unbreakable mindset requires patience paired with persistent action. You're planting seeds today that you won't harvest for years. You're making investments in your skills, your relationships, your health, your character. That won't pay dividends immediately. This is where most people fail. They work hard for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, and when they don't see dramatic results, they quit. They assume it's not working. They assume they're not cut out for it. They assume they should try something else. But you understand that you're in this for the long haul. You measure your progress in years, not weeks. You understand that every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, even when you can't see results, you're building something. Think of it like compound interest. The early deposits seem insignificant, but over time, with consistency, those small deposits create exponential growth. Selective vulnerability. Being unbreakable doesn't mean being closed off. It doesn't mean being emotionally unavailable or pretending you don't need anyone. That's not strength. That's armor you built to protect a fragile ego. True strength is knowing who deserves access to your vulnerability and who doesn't. It's being able to open up completely with people who've earned your trust while maintaining healthy boundaries with everyone else. You don't owe everyone your story. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't owe everyone access to your doubts, your fears, your struggles. But you do need people in your life who see the full you, the powerful parts and the wounded parts, the confident parts and the uncertain parts. The unbreakable mindset includes building a small circle of people who support you unconditionally, who challenge you honestly, who celebrate your wins and help you process your losses. These people are rare. Choose them carefully. Invest in these relationships. They're not weakness. They're your foundation. continuous evolution. The person you are today won't be enough to achieve the goals you set 5 years from now. The skills you have today won't be sufficient for the challenges you'll face tomorrow. The mindset you have today will need to expand to accommodate the growth you're pursuing. Being unbreakable means being committed to continuous evolution. You're never done. You're never arrived. You're always learning, always growing, always refining who you are and what you're capable of. This requires humility. It requires admitting what you don't know. It requires seeking feedback, even when it's uncomfortable. It requires studying people who've achieved what you want to achieve. It requires being willing to unlearn old patterns that no longer serve you. Too many people reach a certain level of success and then coast. They stop pushing themselves. They stop learning. They start believing their own hype. And inevitably they stagnate. Or worse, they decline. You're not going to be that person. You're going to be the person who's still hungry at 50, at 60, at 70. Still curious. Still growing. Still becoming. There's a good chance that becoming unbreakable required you to destroy parts of your old life. Maybe you walked away from a career that looked impressive on paper, but made you miserable. Maybe you ended relationships that were comfortable, but unfulfilling. Maybe you let go of an identity that felt safe, but wasn't authentic. And now you're in the messy middle. You've torn down the old structure, but the new one isn't fully built yet. You're in the ruins, surrounded by the debris of your former life, trying to figure out what comes next. This is the most dangerous phase. This is where most people panic and try to go back, because the unknown is terrifying and rebuilding from scratch is exhausting, and sometimes the old life, despite its limitations, start to look pretty good in retrospect. Don't go back. I'm going to be blunt with you. Rebuilding is hard. It's lonely. It's uncertain. There will be days when you question everything. Days when you wonder if you made a terrible mistake. Days when you look at people who stayed on the conventional path and feel envious of their stability. But you can't unknow what you know. You can't unfeel what you felt. You've tasted authenticity, autonomy, alignment with your true self. Going back would be a slow death. So you stay in the ruins, and you start building. You start with foundations, not the flashy stuff, not the parts people can see. You start with the internal work, clarifying your values, defining your vision, establishing your non-negotiables. You start with the daily practices, the morning routine, the physical training, the mental conditioning, the skill development. This work is unglamorous. No one's going to applaud you for it. No one's going to post about it on social media. It's just you, day after day, putting in the work when you don't feel like it, when you can't see results, when you're not even sure it's making a difference. But it is. It always is. Every day you show up, you're building momentum. Every day you honor your commitments to yourself. You're building trust with yourself. Every day you choose the hard right over the easy wrong. You're building character. And gradually, not overnight, not in a dramatic transformation montage, gradually, you start to see the structure taking shape. You start to see who you're becoming. You start to experience the life you designed instead of the one that was assigned to you. Here's what's important to understand about rebuilding. You're not trying to recreate what you had before. You're not trying to get back to where you were. You're building something entirely new, something that couldn't have existed without the destruction that came before. The ruins aren't a tragedy. They're a blank canvas. Everything you went through, every failure, every betrayal, every loss taught you something, gave you perspective, revealed something about yourself, about others, about how the world works. You couldn't have learned those lessons any other way. So you don't rebuild as the person you are. You build as the person you become. Stronger, wiser, more discerning, more authentic, more aligned with what truly matters. And the beautiful thing? The structure you're building now is designed by you, for you. It fits who you actually are, not who people expected you to be. It serves your vision, not theirs. It honors your values, not society's arbitrary standards. Some people won't understand what you're building. They'll look at your life and see chaos, see recklessness, see someone who threw everything away. Let them. Their opinion is based on a blueprint they're following that you've rejected. They literally cannot see what you're creating because it doesn't exist in their paradigm. But others, the right others, will see it. They'll recognize what you're doing because they're doing it too. And those are your people. Those are the ones you build community with, collaborate with, grow with. The ruins aren't forever. You're not going to be in this uncertain, uncomfortable transition phase permanently. But rushing through it would be a mistake. This is where the deep work happens. This is where you establish the foundation that everything else will be built upon. Stay in the ruins as long as it takes to build something that won't crumble the first time a storm hits. We've arrived at the culmination, the moment where everything we've discussed converges into a singular truth that will define the rest of your life. You are becoming everything they feared you would be, not because you're becoming a villain, not because you're becoming destructive or harmful, but because you're becoming free. And freedom, real freedom, authentic freedom, is the most threatening thing in a world built on control, conformity, and compliance. When you truly understand your power, when you truly own your life, when you truly commit to your path regardless of external validation, you become a walking, breathing reminder that the rules are optional, that the limitations are negotiable, that the life everyone else accepted as inevitable is actually just one possibility among infinite others. And that terrifies people. It terrifies them because if you can do it, what's their excuse? If you can break free, why haven't they? If you can rebuild after losing everything, why are they still paralyzed by the fear of losing anything? Your existence challenges their excuses. Your success invalidates their justifications. Your transformation forces them to confront the uncomfortable truth that they're choosing their cage. Some will hate you for it. Some will dismiss you. Some will try to tear you down. Let them. Their reactions reveal their limitations, not yours. But others will be inspired. They'll watch you from a distance, afraid to approach but unable to look away. They'll study your moves, trying to understand how you did it. They'll wrestle with their own fears and limitations, wondering if they have what it takes to follow a similar path. Those people need you to succeed. They need living proof that it's possible. They need to see someone who went through the fire and came out forged rather than destroyed. They need permission, not explicit permission, but the implicit permission that comes from witnessing someone else choose courage over comfort. You didn't ask for this responsibility. You didn't set out to be an example or an inspiration. You just wanted to live authentically, to pursue what mattered to you, to become who you were meant to be. But that's exactly what makes you powerful. You're not performing. You're not pretending. You're not creating content for social media or crafting a personal brand. You're genuinely living in alignment with your truth. And that authenticity is magnetic. People are starving for authenticity in a world full of carefully curated facades. They're desperate for honesty in a culture of filtered reality. They're hungry for someone real, someone raw, someone who admits the struggle while continuing to push forward. That's you. You're not perfect. You don't have it all figured out. You make mistakes, you have doubts, you experience setbacks, but you keep going, you keep evolving, you keep choosing yourself even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when it would be easier to quit. And by doing that, by simply being who you are and walking your path, you're becoming everything they feared. Not a monster, not a failure, not a cautionary tale. You're becoming proof that another way is possible. Let me paint a picture of what your life looks like now, or what it will look like as you continue on this path. You wake up with purpose. Not every morning, not without struggle, but more often than not, you know why you're here. You know what you're building. You know who you're becoming. You make decisions based on alignment, not approval. When an opportunity arises, you don't immediately ask what people think. You ask, does this serve my vision? Does this honor my values? Is this the right next step for who I'm becoming? You set boundaries without guilt. You say no to things that drain you, even when saying yes will be easier. You protect your time, your energy, your peace, because you understand that you can't pour from an empty cup, and your mission is too important to sacrifice on the altar of other people's expectations. You invest in yourself relentlessly. You read, you learn, you train, you grow. Not because you're broken and need to be fixed, but because you're committed to maximizing your potential. You see yourself as a work in progress, always refining, always improving. You surround yourself with quality people. You've learned to be selective about who gets access to you. You've cut ties with toxic individuals even when it hurt. You've built a small circle of people who push you to be better while accepting you as you are. You embrace discomfort as growth. When you feel resistance, when something scares you, when you want to avoid a challenge, that's your signal to lean in. You've learned that everything you want is on the other side of fear. You measure success by your own metrics. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not chasing status symbols or keeping up with anyone. You've defined what success means to you, and you're building toward that vision regardless of whether anyone else understands it. This is what becoming unbreakable looks like. This is what it means to be everything they couldn't control, predict, or destroy. You're still here. You're still standing. You're still building. And every day that you wake up and choose yourself, every day that you take one more step toward your vision, every day that you refuse to shrink back into the box they try to put you in, you're winning. Listen, I need you to understand something. This isn't just a video. This isn't just words. This is a movement of people who refuse to be broken, who refuse to accept limitations, who refuse to live half a life. If you're ready to fully commit to becoming unbreakable, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button. It tells me you're serious about this transformation. Second, drop a comment telling me what your definition of unbreakable looks like. What does that version of you do that the current version doesn't? Third, subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'm building an army of the unbreakable, and I want you in it. Do it now. Your future self is watching. Theory is useless without practice. Philosophy is meaningless without application. Everything I've told you up to this point about becoming uncontrollable, about rebuilding from ruins, about being everything they feared, all of it amounts to nothing if you don't put it into practice daily. Being unbreakable isn't a destination. It's a practice. It's something you have to choose every single day, in dozens of small moments that no one else sees. It's choosing to get out of bed when your body wants to stay there. It's choosing to do the workout when you don't feel like it. It's choosing to work on your goals when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you can't see immediate results. It's choosing to speak your truth even when your voice shakes. It's choosing to set boundaries even when it disappoints people. It's choosing to walk away from what doesn't serve you even when you're afraid of what comes next. It's choosing to be kind to yourself when you make mistakes. It's choosing to learn from failure instead of being destroyed by it. It's choosing to get back up every time you fall. These choices, these tiny, unglamorous, everyday choices, are what build an unbreakable mindset. Not the big, dramatic moments. Not the speeches or the declarations or the New Year's resolutions. The small, consistent actions you take when no one is watching. Let me give you a framework for practicing this daily. Before you check your phone, before you look at social media, before you allow the world's chaos into your mind, you set your foundation. This might take 30 minutes, might take an hour, but it's non-negotiable. You start with your body. Physical training isn't just about fitness. It's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can be uncomfortable and keep going, that you have power over your physical form. Whether it's running, lifting, yoga, martial arts, you do something that challenges you, then you feed your mind. You read something that expands your perspective. You listen to something that inspires you. You learn something that makes you better. You're programming your mind with empowering input instead of letting it be programmed by whatever random content you encounter. Finally, you set your intention. You clarify what you're building toward. You visualize who you're becoming. You identify the most important tasks for the day, not the most urgent, not the easiest, but the most important. The things that will actually move you toward your goals. Every moment is an opportunity to practice being unbreakable. When someone criticizes you, you choose how to respond. When an opportunity for distraction presents itself, you choose whether to take it. When you feel resistance towards something important, you choose whether to push through or give in. You practice awareness. You notice your patterns. When do you tend to self-sabotage? What triggers your doubt? What circumstances cause you to abandon your commitments to yourself? You catch yourself in these moments. You pause. You ask, what would the unbreakable version of me do right now? And then you do that thing, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Before you sleep, you review the day, not with judgment or harsh criticism, but with honest assessment. Where did you honor your commitments, What did you fall short? What did you learn? What will you do differently tomorrow? You celebrate the wins, even the small ones. You give yourself permission to acknowledge your progress. You're building positive momentum, and that requires recognizing when you do something right. You also face the failures. You don't make excuses. You don't rationalize. You simply acknowledge where you could have done better and commit to improving. This is the practice, day after day, week after week, year after year. And here's what happens when you commit to this practice. You become someone different. Not overnight, but gradually. You look back 6 months, a year, 5 years, and you barely recognize who you were. The challenges that used to overwhelm you are now manageable. The fears that used to paralyze you are now just uncomfortable sensations you push through. The limitations you once believed in are now clearly visible as illusions. I haven't been entirely honest with you. I've told you about the power of becoming unbreakable, the freedom it brings, the transformation it creates, but I haven't fully addressed the cost. Because there is a cost. Always. The cost of being unbreakable is that you'll outgrow people you love. You'll change in ways they can't understand or accept. You'll pursue things they think are crazy. You'll make choices they find threatening. And some of them won't be able to come with you on this journey. That hurts. It hurts deeply. It might be the most painful part of this entire process. You'll watch friendships fade because you're no longer interested in the same things, no longer willing to engage in the same patterns, no longer content with surface level interactions. You'll have family members who continue to see you as who you were rather than who you're becoming, who continually try to pull you back into old roles and dynamics. You might lose romantic relationships because the person you were with fell in love with a version of you that no longer exists. You've evolved and they either can't or won't evolve with you. The cost of being unbreakable is loneliness, real profound loneliness. Because even though you might be surrounded by people, even though you might have supporters and followers and connections, very few people will truly understand you. Very few people will grasp what you're building, why it matters, what's required of you. The cost is that you can never fully check out. You can never go back to sleepwalking through life. You're awake now, and consciousness comes with responsibility. You see the problems, the potential, the possibilities, and you can't unsee them. The cost is uncertain. You've chosen a path without a map. You don't have case studies to reference. You don't have a proven formula to follow. You're figuring it out as you go, making mistakes, adjusting, trying again. The cost is criticism, not just from strangers on the internet, but from people you respect, people you love, people whose opinions you value. They'll question you. They'll doubt you. They'll think you're making mistakes. And sometimes you wonder if they're right. The cost is that you'll have to face yourself. All of yourself. The good parts and the ugly parts. The strengths and the wounds. The potential and the fears. You can't maintain the unbreakable mindset while avoiding your own truth. So why do it? Why pay these costs? Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is living with the quiet desperation of knowing you could have been more, but chose comfort instead. The alternative is looking back at your life and seeing a story that was written by other people's expectations, rather than your own choices. The alternative is dying with your music still in you, with your potential untapped, with your dreams abandoned. The cost of being unbreakable is high, but the cost of being broken is higher. You pay that cost in regret, in resentment, in the slow erosion of your soul as you compromise yourself day after day, in the growing bitterness that comes from sacrificing your authenticity for approval, in the depression that accompanies living a life that isn't yours. I can't tell you that becoming unbreakable will make everything easier. It won't. I can't tell you that you'll always feel confident and certain. You won't. I can't tell you that everyone will support you and celebrate your transformation. They won't. But I can tell you this. You'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you're living in alignment with your truth. You'll be able to lay your head on your pillow at night, knowing that you honored your values that day. You'll be able to face whatever comes knowing that you've built something real, something authentic, something that can't be taken from you. And that's worth every cost, every sacrifice, every hard moment, because you only get one life, one shot at this. And living it on someone else's terms is the worst tragedy of all. We've covered a lot of ground. From the moment you stop being predictable to the daily practice of choosing strength, from rebuilding in the ruins to accepting the cost of transformation, you now have the complete framework for becoming unbreakable. But knowledge isn't enough. Understanding isn't enough. You have to declare it. You have to claim it. You have to make a commitment right here, right now, to the person you're becoming. So I want you to make a declaration, not to me, to yourself. Declare that you're done apologizing for wanting more. Declare that you're done making yourself small to make others comfortable. Declare that you're done accepting limitations imposed by people who haven't accomplished what you're attempting. Declare that you're taking full ownership of your life, that you're the author of your story, that you're the architect of your future. Declare that you're done waiting for permission, for the perfect moment, for ideal circumstances, that you're starting now with what you have from where you are. Declare that you're committed to the daily practice, that you'll show up when you don't feel like it, when you're scared, when you're tired, when you're discouraged, that you'll keep going even when you can't see results. Declare that you're building something that matters, that you're becoming someone who matters, that your life will be a testament to what's possible when someone refuses to be broken. This is your declaration of independence, your emancipation proclamation, your line in the sand. And on the other side of this line is the rest of your life. A life where you call the shots, where you define success, where you honor your values, where you pursue your vision relentlessly. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be worth it? Absolutely. You are everything they couldn't control, predict, or destroy. Not because you're invincible, but because you're committed. Not because you never fall, but because you always get back up. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're willing to figure it out. You're unbreakable not because nothing can hurt you, but because nothing can stop you. Now go. Go build what you're meant to build. Go become who you're meant to become. Go live the life that only you can live. They'll try to stop you. They'll try to discourage you. They'll try to convince you it's impossible. Prove them wrong. Not with words, with your life. Show them what unbreakable looks like.